Hello everyone, welcome to Power of 21 with ClearTex. I am CA Surbi Punshi, Indirect Tax Expert at ClearTex. And today we are going to discuss on returns under GST. We will be discussing different types of return which we are required to file under GST and also the due dates of these returns. Along with this, we'll also understand what are the current due dates after the impact of this COVID-19. So let's start our session on returns under GST. So before that, I will just tell you about the overview that what all we'll be covering in today's session. So first, we'll know about the returns. Second, we'll know who should file the return and why. The returns for the normal and the specific taxpayer, the conditions which are related to the return, and all about 1, 2A, 3B, 9, 9C. All of this return we are going to discuss in today's session. So now first we'll start with GST return. If we talk about return, what is this GST return? That is the first question which we usually comes into our mind. So we understand it's like a document which contains some of the information. It could be sales information, it could be a purchase information, it could be in relation to your ITC, it could be in relation to your tax liability. So the combination of all this is usually given in the return where we tell the government, okay, this is my total turnover for this particular month or maybe a quarter or maybe for a year, and this is the total ITC or maybe my total purchases on which I have paid some taxes to the vendor, and now I'm declaring over here and also claiming the ITC so that I can now give you the net tax liability which I am liable to pay to you. And also sometimes it's very important to file the return when it comes to refund. Let's say if I'm doing some exports and all and I'm making zero rated supplies, I understand whatever the taxes with payment of IGST I am paying to the government, I am eligible to claim the refund of that. But how would government know that what was the total amount for which you are eligible? So returns actually help you in knowing that, and also the government in giving back your refund. So now we should first understand why should we file it. Obviously, it's a link, it's a point of a contact between the government and the taxpayer. So they both actually gets to know about each other information through this return. So whatever the taxpayer actually files the information in the returns is seen by this government basis that they actually think, okay, this is the final liability or this is the total refund which I am liable to give it to this taxpayer back. So that's the reason it's really important to why we need to actually file the return. Along with that, it also is a proof of whether the person is actually compliant or not, whether he's filing the returns on time or not, whether the parties who are dependent on that is getting credit on time or not, and in case in future if he also wants to take some business loan or something, this is a document which actually tells the bank and all that whether whatever the turnover he's showing is actually correct or not. Because if he has filed in the return, it means that is his true turnover, which is the correct turnover, basis that sometimes they also get to take the loans and other things. Now question comes in, who should actually file this GST return, which is really an important question because this is the base, whether I'm actually liable to file the return or can I just go ahead and just take a registration and do nothing. So for that, we have a different types of taxpayer under GST. So first we should know what are the different type of taxpayers under GST. In general, there is a normal taxpayer, which usually we are. Let's say I am a person and I am dealing only with the sales and purchase. I am running a small business and let's say I've got the registration. Obviously, first important thing is this return needs to be filed by the person who is registered under GST. It could be in any form. The forms we are going to discuss it now. But now let's say I'm a person and I was liable to get registration under GST. I got registered also. After getting registered, I will be getting one GSTN number. That is goods and you can say the GSTN number which I got it. There, basis the GSTN number which I got it, I'm going to file the return. So if I'm a normal taxpayer, which means I have a normal business of sales and the purchase, that time I will be filing my GST1, which could be quarterly, which could be monthly also. We'll understand who needs to file monthly return and who needs to file quarterly return. Then the second return which we need to file is GSTR 3B. GSTR 3B is a monthly return. Every month we need to file that return. Apart from that, there is another return which is GSTR 9. GSTR 9 is an annual return and it's a combination of what we have already filed in 1 and 3B. So that needs to be again filed, which is an annual return. Along with that, there is another reconciliation statement which is GSTR 9C. that also needs to be filed by a normal taxpayer, and it's like a reconciliation statement where we're telling, okay, this is a total turnover as per my financial statement, and this is a total turnover as per my GST 9, and if there are certain differences, it will be shown over there. But things to remember over here is not everyone has to file GST 9. In the similar way, not everyone has to file 9C. We'll understand who are required to file 9 and who are required to file 9C. But now, when we talk about the normal taxpayer, the main return which needs to be filed by them is GST 1 and GST 3B. One could be quarterly or monthly. The frequency could be anything. Basis their turnover, and 3B, it's always a monthly return through which we actually pay the taxes to the government. We'll also understand like what all information we need to file in GST 1 and what all information we are required to file in GST 3B. Also, what information needs to be filed in 9 and 9C. Now, second type of a person is a composition suppliers. So the thing is, government has given up a scheme where the person can actually opt for a composition scheme, where government says you just give me the flat rate of tax. So you don't have to worry about the ITC, you don't have to worry of maintaining the books of account. Whatever the sales you are making, just give me 1% of that. In general, it's a 1%. In some cases, it's also 5% and also 6%. So in general, they say, okay, just pay me this flat tax rate. You don't claim ITC on the purchases and also don't charge this amount from your customer. Whatever turnover you get, you just pay this amount to me and I'm done with this. I don't need any other information from you. So that is a scheme which government has given, and people can actually offer that composition scheme. We have also learned in one of the lecture about the composition scheme, where we have understood in detail like what is that composition scheme, who all can offer it, what returns they are required to file, when they have to file on all this return. So that we have already covered in our separate session, which was all about the composition scheme. Now, if I just talk about what return they are required to file, first is CMP 08, which is again a quarterly return, and it just tell about, okay, this is my total turnover and this is the taxes I'm going to pay to the government. It's a small statement which we need to file on a quarterly basis. Then moving towards the next, which is a non-resident taxable person and also the casual taxable person. So for them, because they don't have a fixed establishment in India, or maybe they don't have that fixed establishment in that particular state where they're getting the registration, so they get a registration as a casual taxable person. So for them also they have to file the return, because they pay the taxes on the provisional basis, and after they make the liability and they make the transaction, if there is certain extra amount which is already paid, they will also get the refund of that amount. So that all can be done only if they have filed the return. So that is about the non-resident taxable person, and they need to file a return which is called GSTR 5. Then the next one is input service distributor. If we talk about input service distributor, the main purpose of them is just to distribute the taxes which they have paid on their purchases of the services which they want to transfer to its branches. So I will give you one of the small example. Just think of a State Bank of India. They have their head office in, let's say, Maharashtra. They have taken some registration in the state of Maharashtra. They have certain branches in, let's say, in Delhi, in Karnataka, and in different states in India itself. Now, what will happen? The thing is, sometime, let's say, they have availed a consultancy services, and that consultancy services is going to be used in all the branches. But the person who is providing the consultancy service, he don't care like to which branch I have to give. He bill directly this to the head office, which is in Maharashtra. But now one of the condition for claiming the ITC was that you should have received that goods or the services, and the second condition, you should have the tax invoice. Now in this case, the person who is sitting in the state of Maharashtra, he has that invoice, because the person who is providing the consultancy services has raised the invoice to this person, but he has not received their services because the services has been received. So here comes the concept of input service distributor. So here this head office, he will take the registration as an input service distributor, and then he will get the invoices with that supplier, whosoever the supplier is, he will raise that invoices. He will be able to see this all document in the form 6A. In GSTR 6A, he will be able to see that what his supplier has filed on his registration, and basis that, and also whatever the purchases he has actually made, basis that he will raise this invoices to the branches. So he will raise an ISD invoice, and now these branches basis this ISD invoice will actually claim the ITC. So for this, the ISD, the input service distributor, who has taken a separate registration, which is a separate registration from the normal registration which he is going to take. Obviously, there would be one normal registration where whatever the purchases, normal purchases he has made, or whatever the normal sale he has made, he's going to do that, which is a separate registration. Apart from that, there will be an extra registration, which is an ISD registration, and on that registration, he will be getting all that invoices which belongs to different branches of the same PAN number. And then based on that, he's going to actually raise that ISD invoices to the branches, and then branches will be claiming ITC. Now, one important thing, obviously this person has to file a return so that they know that, okay, this is the invoices which we have received. So that return is called GSTR 6. So this ISD person has to file a return which is called GSTR 6. Now the other is person deducting taxes. So the government has come up with the provision of TDS under GST, where there are certain PSUs and all who are liable to deduct the taxes while they are making the payment to the normal contractors or the normal person who is supplying the services to this PSUs and all. So what will happen over here? This is a person, let's say there is a normal person. What he is doing, he is supplying some services to the PSU. When he supplies to the services to the PSU, this person will raise a normal invoice. He raises an invoice, let's say for 1 lakh rupees and 18,000 as the taxes to this PSU. Now PSU has to make 1 lakh 18,000 payment to this person. So before making that payment, this PSU will deduct the tax at the rate of 1%, which he will deposit to the government. And this person, what he will do, he will pay the liability of 18,000 to the government because that is GST liability. Along with that, the thing is, whatever the purchases he would have made, he is anyhow going to claim it. But here the taxes, because there was certain TDS which has been deducted by this PSU, which they would have already deposited to the government. So this person will also be able to claim that it by this PSU on behalf of this. So this is a TDS provision. And now, obviously, this person also have to file some return so that this person know that there are certain amount which has already been deducted and is reflected in their electronic cash ledger. So that return which they file, which is a PSU over here, who is actually deducting the tax, is known as GSTR 7. So this person who is deducting the taxes needs to file a return which is GSTR 7. Now the other person is e-commerce operator. What is e-commerce operator? Now what does they do it? For example, if we talk about Flipkart or maybe we talk about Amazon, what they do? They are an e-commerce operator. So there is always a supplier, there is a customer, and there is an e-commerce operator. This customer, what he do? He raises an order on this e-commerce platform. After this person raises an order on the e-commerce platform, this e-commerce operator will pass on this order to the supplier. After the supplier receives this order, this person will deliver the goods or services to this person who is a final customer. Who is going to receive the payment in this transaction? Because whenever this customer places an order on this platform, this person will also make the payment to this e-commerce platform. While this person makes the payment, obviously this amount needs to be given back to the actual supplier who has supplied the goods to this customer. So while he make that payment, whatever he has received, so this e-commerce platform will make the payment, but he will deduct some amount. First part, he will also deduct the commission which he's going to charge from this person, from the supplier. Along with that, there's another important point which that person is going to deduct, which is an e-commerce operator, that is TCS. So at the rate of 1%, this person will also deduct TCS, which he needs to deposit to the government. So this person will actually, the e-commerce operator will deposit this amount to the government. So how would government know that what was the amount which has been deposited and on whose behalf you have actually deposited? Who is that person? Who is the actual supplier? So all this information needs to be filed by this e-commerce operator, and that firm name is GSTR 8. So this e-commerce operator needs to file GSTR 8 basis that this person who is a supplier will get the credit of whatever was paid by this e-commerce operator. So this person will see in his electronic cash ledger that this is the amount which has been already deducted and now I can claim. So this person, while he files his normal return, which will be 1 and 3B, he will also be able to claim whatever was deducted by this e-commerce operator. So that there comes your GSTR 8, which needs to be filed by this e-commerce operator. So this was the different returns which needs to be filed by different type of a person. Because if we talk about this e-commerce supplier, which means who was supplying to an e-commerce operator, has to file only two returns, which is GSTR 1 and 3B. And there could be 9 or 9C depending on his turnover. Now, since we have actually understood about different kinds of the return which needs to be filed by the different person, we'll also understand what are the due date of this return, when this return needs to be actually filed. So first comes your GSTR 1, which actually talks about detail of outward supply of taxable goods and services which has been affected, and the due date for this is always 11th of the next month. What does this mean? So if we talk about GSTR 1, GSTR 1, there would be obviously a month attached to it. And if there is a month attached to it, for example, I want to file the return for the month of April. If I want to file the return for the month of April, I will look into all the supplies which has been done in the month of April, which means from 1st April till 30th April. And I will be filing the return till 11th of the next month, which means for the month of April, I will be filing the return till 11th of the May. So that is the due date when I have to file the return. And if I don't file on that particular due date, then there is a levy of late fees. Then I have to actually pay the late fees to the government. So earlier it used to be 10th of the next month, but now it has been changed to 11th of the next month. So this is about one, but now we should also understand what exactly one is and what all information needs to be furnished in GSTR 1. So if we talk about GSTR 1, it talks about every outward supplies. So whatever the outward supplies you have will be shown in GSTR 1. Some of the example could be, because just think a normal business transaction, what usually happen? There is a business person, there is obviously some vendors who supply the goods to this business, and this business actually supplies to the customer. When this business supplies to the customer, that customer could be a registered person, that customer could be unregistered person, and also there could be certain exports made by this person. Obviously, this person could also purchase something. When he's purchasing something, he's going to make some payment to that person, and also there could be certain purchases which he has done. There is the RCM transaction which is levied, which means that liability this person has to pay. So these are the normal transactions which usually happen in day-to-day businesses. Now first question comes in, what all information we need to furnish in this GSTR 1? Is it my purchases? Is it my sales? Is it my liability? Or just some exports which I am doing? Or just some imports I am doing? So what all information needs to be shown? So in GSTR 1, it's all about outward supply. Whatever is my outward supply, I will show in my GSTR 1. Example, if I'm supplying to a registered person, it will come in your GSTR 1. If I'm supplying to unregistered person, it will come here in GSTR 1. If I'm doing some exports, it will again come in your GSTR 1. If I talk about some nil rated supply or exempted supply or non-GST supply, because again it's my outward supply, it will come over here. There could also be cases when I have supplied something to my customer and now I'm returning back. So the thing is that person is returning back some of the goods and I raises a credit note. So whenever I'm raising a credit note, that will also be part of your GSTR 1. So all the transaction which I'm doing with the customers, that will come in your GSTR 1. Right now, there are certain things which needs to be shown at an invoice level, and there are certain things which we need to show as an aggregate figure. We don't even have to give the full detail. So wherever the other party is impacted, which means the other party actually has to claim the ITC on that, or maybe in future I have to claim the refund for that, there I'm going to give full details. But where the other party is not actually impacted, I have just collected something and I'm going to deposit to the government, there I have to give just an aggregate figure. For example, if I'm supplying to a registered dealer, if that person is registered, it means that person is going to claim ITC. And if that person is going to claim ITC, that information needs to be given at an invoice level, which means I will give to the government what is the invoice number, what is the invoice date, what was the customer GSTN, what was the place of supply, what was the taxable value, what was the IGST, CGST, HGST. All this information needs to be given to the government. But let's say if it's a supply to a unregistered dealer. Here, there's a point. If we are supplying to an unregistered dealer, we have actually categorized this into two parts. One is your B2C small and one is your B2C large. B2C large means wherever the value is more than 2,50,000 and the transaction is interstate. You are supplying outside the state where you are registered. In that case, that is categorized as B2C large, where you have to give more information to the government. You again have to give the invoice level information, because government think that this is a huge amount, you can say transaction, so you have to give me the full detail. But wherever you are supplying to the normal unregistered dealer, apart from this B2C large, there you just have to give a place of supply, what was the tax rate and what was the tax amount. That's it. You don't have to give more information to the government. Then there comes to be other information like exports. Export can be again export with payment of IGST or export without payment of IGST. So here, since you have to claim the refund from the government because it is a zero rated supply where you are eligible to claim the refund. So here again, you have to give the full detail. You have to tell what was the shipping bill number, what was shipping bill detail, and other information over here so that you can claim the refund for that. And apart from that, you also have to give to more additional information in your GSTR 1, that is document series summary, which means from this invoice to this invoice you have raised it and you have to show that. Another is HSN summary. Again, HSN summary, you have to tell, okay, from this to this you can you have actually issued the invoices to the other people, so that information needs to be shown in your GSTR 1. And also there was a nil rated exemption and non-GST supply. So if you have done that and obviously raised the bill of supply, that information also needs to be shown in your GSTR 1. So this is about what all information needs to be shown in your GSTR 1, and the due date is always next of the next month. So this is in case you are a monthly user. And because I was telling that there could also be a person who has to file the return on quarterly basis. So there is a turnover here, that is 1.5 crore. So if your turnover is up to 1.5 crore, you can choose whether you want to file monthly return or quarterly return. But in case your turnover is 1.5 above 1.5 crore, in that case, return on the monthly basis. So if you opt for the quarterly return, then the due date would be like 31st of the end of the quarter. So which means if you want to file the return for the month of April, May, June, that becomes your one quarter. The due date will be 31st July. So that is how the due date for the quarterly user is defined. But obviously, due to this COVID-19, the due dates have been different. We'll also understand what are the due dates for this current return periods. So we'll also know that what are the due dates. The next return which comes to be and which is to be filed by the normal taxpayer is your GSTR 3B. It's a simple return and it just talks about what was your liability and what was your ITC and the net, which whatever you have to pay to the government through a challan and then file your return. But obviously, when we're talking about the outward supply, or we can say the liability part, there is certain bifurcation also which is required. We'll tell you what about that bifurcation. So if we are filing 3B, we'll tell you, we have to tell this is my total outward tax supplies. We also have to talk about what was your zero rated supply, nothing but exports or supply to an SEZ unit. Then we have to separately tell what is a nil rated and exempted supplies, and then what is a non-GST supplies. Apart from that, we also have to tell what is your inward supply liable to RCM, which is your liability. Though it's your purchases, but it is your liability. So that needs to be declared in your GSTR 3B. Apart from that, there's certain ITC part, which means on the purchases you have paid some taxes to the supplier or maybe the government. For example, if you have paid some taxes on import of goods, that needs to be shown. If there are certain taxes on import of services, that needs to be shown. If there are certain inward supplies which has been received from ISD, that needs to be shown. Or there are all other ITC needs to be shown over there. Other than this, if there is some nil rated and exempted purchases, that again needs to be shown while you are filing your GSTR 3B. And also certain ITC on which you have paid the taxes under the reverse charge again needs to be shown in your GSTR 3B. Apart from that, there is one 3.2 table where you show the bifurcation. So whenever you are supplying to the unregistered dealer and it's an intrastate transaction, then that information again needs to be shown at a place of supply label while you're filing your GSTR 3B. So all this information needs to be shown in 3B. And what is the due date? It is 20th of the next month. But now this has been staggered. So here for some state the date is 20th, for some is 22. We'll understand what are the dates now. But in general, if you talk about like what is the due date of GSTR 3B, that is 20th of the next month. So if you're filing the return for the month of April, the due date will become 20th of May. Now, apart from that, there is another form which is for the composition taxpayer. So if you have opted for that particular scheme, then in that case you have to file a return which is called ZMP08, which needs to be filed on quarterly basis, and the due date is 18th of the succeeding quarter. Apart from that, if you are casual taxable person or taxable person, then you have to file GSTR 5 and the due date is 20th of the next month. Then there's GSTR 6, which is for the ISD person, input service distributor. That person also needs to file a return which is called GSTR 6 by 13th of the next month. Then there is a person like PSUs and who has to actually deduct the taxes while they're making the payment. So in that case, that person has to file GSTR 7, which needs to be filed by 10th of the next month. Then there's an e-commerce operator who has to file, who is collecting the taxes. So when we're talking about e-commerce operator, obviously they will also have a two registration. One is the registration which actually collects the taxes, and the other is a normal registration where they're going to file their 1 and 3B. So while they file this registration, we have taken the registration where they're collecting the taxes, they have to file GSTR 8, and that needs to be filed 10th of the next month. Then there is a GSTR 9, which is an annual return and needs to be filed by the normal taxpayer. And right now, usually the due date is 31st December of the next year, but now for 18-19, financial year 18-19, the due date is the 30th June. And if we talk about 9C, same date is applied for the 9C. Who is required to file GSTR 9? Everyone has to file, required to file GSTR 9. For 9C whose turnover is more than 2 crore has to file GSTR 9C. But here there are certain things or relaxation which has been given to the people. So here, if your turnover is up to 2 crore for GSTR 9, if your turnover is up to 2 crore, in that case it's optional for you to whether you want to file 9 or not. Similarly, if we talk about 9C, if your turnover is up to 5 crore, it is optional for you to file your 9C for financial year 18-19. So if it's above 2 crore or above 5 crore, then it's mandatory for you to file 9 and 9C. So that has been the relaxation which has been given for filing the 9 and 9C for financial year 18-19. Then there is another form which is called GSTR 9A, which is an annual return by the composition taxpayer. But again, this here also they have given the relaxation. So if you want to file, you can, otherwise you can also leave it. Then other than this, there is a GSTR 10, which is a final return. And if you have opted for the cancellation, so once you opt for the cancellation, you have to file your GSTR 8, and which tells about, okay, this is my final return and this was my total closing stock or the balances which I want to, which will actually get lapsed. Apart from that, there is another return which is GSTR 11, so which is filed by the UIN. So here what happens, UIN, whatever the purchases they made, they take the refund of that. So for that, they also have to file the return which is called GSTR 11. So this was about the returns which needs to be filed under GST by the different type of person. Now, if we just talk about what is the due date, because we told that in GSTR 3B, the due date has been now staggered. So that is now the new due dates for your GSTR 3B. So if your annual turnover in the previous financial year is greater than 5 crore or equal to 5 crore, then due date is 20th of the next month. And if it's less than 5 crore, then the due date is 22nd of every month, or due date is 24th of the every month, basis in which state you are registered. So states like Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Daman and Diu, Dadra and Nagar Haveli, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Goa. Here the due dates are 22nd, and for rest of the state is 24th. So this is the due dates, the new due dates for your GSTR 3B. But wait, there is also now because of this COVID-19, the due dates has been changed for especially some of the return period. We'll understand like what are the due dates for that specific return period where the date has been extended. So now we are talking about the due dates because of this COVID-19 where it has been changed. So if we talk about GST1 filing, so for one filing, the due date for the month of March 20, April 20 and May 20, this is for the person who files the return on monthly basis, which means whose turnover was more than 1.5 crore. So here the original due date is always 11th of the next month. So of March 20, the original due date was 11th of April, and the April 20, it was 11th of May, and for May 20, it was 11th of June. So now if we just talk about the revised due date for GST1, it also remains the same. So the due date is not changed, but we know that if you don't file the return on time, there is a levy of late fees. So late fees has to be paid while if you don't pay or you don't file the return on time. So that late fees has been waived. So if you file the return for the month of March 20 till 30th June and April 20 till 30th June and May 20 till 30th June, the late fees has been waived. So you can file the return for the month of March, April and May 2020 till 30th of June without paying any late fees. So it's a kind of an extension, but it's an indirect extension. So instead of directly changing the due date, what they have done, they said, okay, the due date will remain the same, but we are just waiving off whatever the late fees you are required to pay. Now, if we talk about the quarterly filers, so the due date for the January, February, March, which is one of the quarter, earlier it was 31st March, now also it's 31st March, but you don't have to pay the late fees even if you file the return till 30th of June. So this is a relaxation which has been given because of COVID-19 in filing your GST1. Now I will understand what is a relaxation given for filing your GSTR 3B because of COVID-19. So here, these are the revised date for your GSTR 3B. If we talk about the people whose turnover is greater than 5 crore, so we have actually divided this into three parts. One is people whose turnover is greater than 5 crore, other is whose turnover is between 1.5 crore to 5 crore, and the third one is whose turnover is less than 1.5 crore. So here, if we talk about original due date, whosoever turnover was more than 5 crore, the due date was 20th March for the month of March, again is 20th April. For April, it's 20th May, and for May, it was 20th June. Now, if we talk about the revised due date, it remains the same. If you just look into the people whose turnover is more than 5 crore, but here the person, what they have to do, what the relaxation they have given, they say you can file. So they have given a 15 days, extra 15 days. Like let's say if I'm talking about the due date for the month of Feb 20, ideally I'm going to file the return of Feb 20 till 20th March. That is my normal due date. So they say till 20th March, ideally you should have filed it, but I'm going to give you some relaxation. I'm going to give you 15 days buffer. So you can file taking extra 15 days, which is let's say 4th April. Till 4th April, you should file it without paying any late fees, without paying any interest. But if you file after 4th April, there again you don't have to pay late fees. Till when you don't have to pay the late fees? If you file it till 24th June also, you don't have to pay any late fees to me. But there would be an interest which will be levied. And that interest is at the rate of 9%, which you have to pay. So earlier, if you talk about normal interest rate, it's 18%, but they have given a relaxation also on the interest at the rate of 9%. That is also only on the net liability and not on the gross liability, which means after adjusting all your ITC. So now question comes in, if let's say I don't even have the liability for that particular month, so whether the interest will be levied, obviously there will be no interest which you have to pay. So here, if your turnover is greater than 5 crore, they have given you first 15 days relaxation, that no interest, no late fees, and then after 15 days interest will be levied, but with the 9% per annum interest rate and no late fees till 24th June. Then the other relaxation, if we talk about now people whose turnover is greater than 1.5 crore but up to 5 crore, in that case, if we just talk about whether the interest will be levied, they say no interest will be levied. And if you file it till 29th June, in that particular case, if we talk about Feb month, 29th June, March month, 29th June, and for April 20 month, 30th June, So if you file by this due date, you don't even have to pay the late fees. So now if we talk about what is the relaxation given, it says between 1.5 crore to 5 crore, you don't have to pay any interest if you file till 29 June or 30th June. And also you don't have to pay any late fees if you file till 29 June or 30th June. Now, if we talk about people whose turnover is less than 1.5 crore, again, they don't have to pay any interest if they file the return till 30th June or 3rd July, 6th July. If they file till this date, they don't have to pay any interest and the late fees. So depending on the month, the due date has been decided, then till when they have to actually file the return. So this is the new due dates only for the return period Feb, March, April. If we talk about because of COVID-19, where people are not able to file the returns on time, so they have given certain relaxation on the late fees and the interest. Now, if we talk about what about the other return because of this COVID-19, what are the due date for them? So for GSTF4, which is financial year 18-19, again, when we talk about composition dealer, they have to file the quarterly one quarterly return, which is CMP08, and then there is an annual return, which is GSTF4, which needs to be filed by a composition taxpayer person. So for financial year 18-19, now the revised date is 15th of July 2020, and if we talk about CMP08, the date is 7th July 2020. If we talk about GSTF 5 for Feb till March, the due date is 30th June. For 5 pay, again the same thing. For 6, again. So all other returns has been extended till 30th June 2020, which needs to be filed under GST. So these are the new dates for this period from Feb till May. Usually, if you just look into either it's still Feb to June or it's March to June, so the due date has been extended, or if not extended, then what they have done, they have given you a relaxation in the late fees and the interest, which is levied when you don't file the returns on time. Now, if we just talk about like what are the condition, like can we, so usually some of the question which usually comes to our mind is, can I actually revise a return once filed? The answer is you cannot revise the return once filed, but there is the option of amendment. So if let's say there was a one particular document which you have filed and you know the taxable value was 1,50,000, but while filing you have made an error. Instead of 1,50,000, you have just reported 1 lakh rupees. So in that case, you can actually amend it. So you can amend the invoice, you can amend the document, and you will make it as a B2BA if it's a supply to a registered dealer in the next month while you're filing the return for the next month, while giving a reference to the original document. So that all is again possible. And if it's a B2C supply, same thing, you can again do it. So you can file an amendment which is normally known as B2CA. So you cannot revise the return under GST, but you can always amend the document. Obviously, there is a time limit till September of the next year, or filing the annual return, whichever is earlier, you can actually amend the document where you have made the mistake, or otherwise you can actually issue the credit or debit note. So we have actually understand about what all information needs to be filed in GST1. So this is a small summary that if it's a B2B supply or it's a B2C supply, and what type of information we need to actually file. So this is about the GST 3B, where we have a different sections which we have to file while we are filing the return. Apart from that, there was one more important thing, which is again a viewing facility. We don't have to take any action, but it's a viewing facility. So what happens while, let's say if you are a supplier, you upload the information in GST1. So when you upload the information in GST1, this all information is reflected in the other party account. So that documents or the information which is reflected, that form name is GSTR 2A. So once you upload some information in your GST1, the other party will be able to see these purchases, his purchases for your sales. So this person will be able to see his purchases in GSTR 2A, basis that this person can actually claim ITC. Because this is really important if you have to comply with rule number 36.4, which talks about that you can claim only up to 110% of whatever is present in 2A. You cannot claim beyond that. But for now, there is a little relaxation because of COVID-19. Again, there is a little relaxation on that too, where they say you can just right now you claim whatever you have as per your purchase register. But in the month of September, you are filing the return for the month of September. Make sure the cumulative is not more than 110%. So that is a little relaxation which has been given. So this was about the 3B and all. So we have actually discussed about all the return. So now if we just talk about the return, So ClearText actually helps you in filing and preparing your return. So you can just, so right now if you talk prepare your purchase document, so you may be using your ARPs, you may be using some manual accounting till now, you may be using some Excels. So ClearText actually helps you in preparing return fast, little accurately, and you don't even have to worry about different sections which is present. You don't have to worry whether it's a B2B, B2C or other things, or it's an export or something. You can either use our custom mapper, where you can actually map your Excel file if you're preparing the document in your Excel file, and then can ingest the file and upload and file your return on time. You can also track the filing status from the ClearText portal itself. You can also try 3B and all, where you can give a document level information and then ClearText automatically makes it as the summary where you can file, so that in future if you want to see that what was the information which has been filed in 3B, you can always check it from there. Along with that, we also have to make sure whatever you're filing in 3B should actually match with 1, and vice versa. Because if it's not matching, then there is a problem. It means you have reported something extra, but you have paid less. So this all can be again done through ClearText, where they will make sure that your 3B and 1 is matching. So this is all about the GST return, where you have understood like what are the different kinds of the return which needs to be filed by the different taxpayer. And now in tomorrow's session, we'll actually understand about GST and 9 and 9C in detail, because we should actually understand what if there's a difference between file return, the books of account, and maybe 1 and 3B itself. If there's a difference between but 1, 3B and books of account, what liability actually I should show in 9? Or there could be questions something like maybe in 2A ITC is different, in 3B what I have claimed is different, in books something is different. What ITC I should actually show in 9? So all of the answer to this question will be going to cover in our tomorrow session, which is about GST 9 and 9C. Thank you. Hope you like this webinar. In case you have any query, you can always mail us. And also this video will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, where you can subscribe and can look into the videos. Thank you. Thank you very much.